with us today. One of the things that we do at the beginning of every Walk Exchange walk is an exercise based either on the content of the walk or the philosophy behind the walk, as a way to prepare ourselves as a group for the questions we're going to be asking during the walk that follows. So I'd like to lead us on a very brief exercise to get us started on this walk today. And one of the things we're going to think about in response to our collaborators in Guatemala and Sitio Senya is the idea of transformation, the idea of the ways in which we as people transform how we appear to the world, either as an act of discovery or an act of subterfuge, the ways in which we change ourselves and change the way we identify as persons in the world in order to respond to specific situations. So what I'd like us to do for the next 2 to 3 minutes is to break off into groups of 2 to 3 people and actually think of a gesture or a way of sort of inhabiting the space we're in that will sort of show a transformation that you might make in your regular life or you have in the past. And one of the things that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this is if I'm walking down the street normally, I might walk like this, open, feeling open to the world. But if I'm in a place where I feel fearful, or if I feel like I'm not quite familiar with the surroundings, I change the way I walk. And so I put my shoulders back, and I adopt more of a sort of aggressive stance that doesn't come naturally to me, but responds to my surroundings. So in thinking about that and how we might change from this to this, I'd like us all to think of a gesture that represents a moment in which we change the way that we interact with the world in response to our surroundings.
Your gesture would be sort of like from here to like sort of unveil, like almost like an unveil gesture. An unfurling. Yeah. Unfurling. I don't know. I have a feeling that a lot of us are on the same page in the change of seasons and like this unfurling thing. So my gesture was very similar to yours in like the idea of walking this morning and like opening up. So my gesture is like.
I've been talking about how I like getting lost in new cities. So rather than a very directed, purposeful walk, it's a very purposeless, gazing walk. So it's sort of like this, very poetic, and you're not really sure where you're going. You might bump into people in a nice way, and you're just sort of gracefully inhaling the city.
Yeah. All right. So let's try as a group to inhabit all of our gestures, starting with the unfurling, the masculine. Drying those joints. Who's behind us? So I'll take our strollers. We're in New York for the first time ever.
So we're going to go right now, step out onto the street and attempt to interpret this sign, which I'll just read in English right now. This is the graphic, and it's called The Carpenter's Wheel, and the verbal description is to steal away, follow the dark triangles for a safe route. So what we're going to do is go outside and follow those directions.
connect anyway, so maybe we just, I'm thinking like here, and maybe
So like down here.
across, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just
The thatched hut, like one of our things was like a thatched hut, so we were looking for places that seemed like home.
That were welcoming.
That were welcoming. It's really, really interesting. The whole, like one of our other symbols was like a thatched roof, and like a house, like a dwelling, and then there were a symbol of the women. So when we were out on our walk, there were spaces that seemed inviting, and there were spaces that didn't seem inviting. So, but there were these kind of warm colors.
Yes. She had mentioned maybe we should put a door in, and I said no, maybe we should keep it open so that it is an open passageway, and that
So we're
there
gonna
isn't a
go
barrier that
right
stands
now,
between you
step
and
out
whatever
onto the
dwelling.
street
That safe
and
passageway that we had kind of been
Attempt
looking
to
for, that guided us on
interpret
the
this
group
sign,
walk.
which I'll just read in English right now. This is the graphic, and it's called the Carpenter's Wheel.
I can see the door.
Yeah.
The verbal description is to steal away, follow the dark triangles for a safe route. So what we're going to do is go outside and follow those directions, and we'll make 3 decisions about following that. And
I like this collaborative figuring out. Disco!
Get our stuff
That's why it's so. Oh, yeah. Walk in zigzag, circles, or go back on your own steps. Avoid straight lines. And the prompt was basically to walk in zigzag, to walk back on your own steps, and anything that isn't a line. And what we ended up doing, and what I think we tried to put into the symbol, is we made a spiral, vaguely. I mean, it was very zigzag. We ended up trying to find spaces that were circles. So we started in Washington Square Park, where it's nothing like the huge circle around the fountain, and then went into the West Village, where the grid of Manhattan breaks down completely, and you have to kind of use a zigzag to find your way back to the grid and back to, in our case, the new school.
This notion of like safety, shelter, and then also like hostility in terms of what you're trying to find yourself protection from, and I think that looking at the pattern grid on the page, it just asserted itself. So I couldn't help but think of the pyramid at the Louvre, and what's happened in this neighborhood is with an NYU asserting itself over its this traditional history of what we saw as Washington Square Park, and in fact deadened the facades in the front yard to the point where we couldn't even read them as being functioning front doors, right? So that's what
I thought a lot about. I think my description was pedal disco, so the idea of a sheltering container that was in itself entirely transient.
So it's like going towards you think is safe and finding a way of surviving with what's around you.
Was follow the direction of the migratory birds to the north. And the first thing that we sort of discussed and were thinking about was the association between the direction, like the northern cardinal direction, and the element of earth, and what that sort of association means. So but we were talking a lot about finding north in the city is really challenging, mainly because of the kind of indelible image of the subway map that's like, that's kind of like branded on in everyone's brain, and in which the direction, the true north, is augmented in a way.
The fast-moving street. This is kind of an image of this still, dark place, and then this was like a connection to the earth. Yeah. Yeah, so the title of the symbol was The Way into the Earth. So it's kind of to seek stillness in the midst of flow.
And we, as the Walk Exchange, would like to thank the New School and Nintendo
Yeah.
Wallace and everyone for inviting us to take part. This has been really wonderful. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.